Hi, and welcome to my channel, End of Life Care, where we talk about everything related to end of life. So, have you had it happens to me, and I wonder if it happens to you. A subject keeps popping back up in your life, and maybe it's unexpected, but you hear about it or it comes up in your mind 3 or 4 times, and then you're like, whoa, this is something I must be supposed to pay attention to. That's what we're going to talk about today. So the subject that's come up for me a lot lately is the challenges of being a caregiver to somebody who is approaching the end of their life. And if you are on my channel today, it's very likely that you are going through that right now, are a caregiver providing care for somebody who's approaching end of life, or you have done that in the past, or maybe you're just getting started on the journey of providing care for somebody at end of life. And what I keep hearing from people is how hard it is and how overlooked they feel, how helpless they feel. And so I'm hoping to use this as an opportunity to talk about, acknowledge some of the things that make it challenging, and talk about them, and then also to be a place where you can come and you can feel safe and in a group of people who are like-minded, experiencing some of the things that you're going through, and we can be a support to one another. So let's get started. One of the things that comes up often and is a real challenge for people is the helplessness that you experience as a caregiver. And part of it is that you're watching somebody that you love and care for, their body is declining, and maybe they've decided they don't want any further treatments, or maybe there are no other options. And even at the beginning of the journey of caring for somebody else, a lot goes on in your mind. And one of the things that the people that I have talked to recently expressed is that they feel helpless. So helplessness is it's very normal. And I think the thing that's really important to remember is you're doing everything you can. And sometimes all of that you can do is be there. And when you're there, when you're present, when you are in the company with that person whose body is declining and they're approaching end of life, that can be very comforting to them and help to manage maybe some helplessness that they're feeling. Another thing that comes up often and people can feel really guilty about is caregiver exhaustion, because you put yourself on the back burner right away. You're like meeting the needs of that person you're caring for, and you know that they don't have a lot of time left. Their body's declining, and they need their personal needs met, their activities of daily living like showering and toileting, and they aren't able to get in and out of bed by themselves, so they need that kind of support. Physical support is one of the things that is very taxing, but also emotional support. You really have to be present and paying attention to everything that's going on around you and that individual who's declining. So you're taking care of their medications, you're taking them to doctor's appointments, you're making sure that they're eating or not eating, and all of that can really weigh heavily on a person. And what we find happens is that caregivers stop caring for themselves. It's exhausting. It takes a lot of energy. And a lot of times people who are doing the care are on their own. Maybe you're the person that was already, maybe it's your spouse, or you were the child of somebody who's declining, and you live close by, so you're the person that everybody expects to come and help to take care of them. Again, people talk about feeling guilty. They don't feel like they're doing enough. And I just one of the things that our nurses said, I'm a former hospice nurse, and one of the things that our team often said is, you can't do this wrong. You can't do it wrong. You're present, you're trying, you're in their company, you're doing the things that you can, that you know in your in your heart that you can do, and also those things that logistics and things that are going on in your head that need to be done. You can't do this wrong. And there's no perfect way to do it. Another thing that's come up lately is, when do you call hospice? A lot of times many people think it's calling hospice is giving up, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. One of the things that I got to do was go out into the community and talk to providers and families about hospice, and I believe in hospice wholeheartedly. So what I would say about when is it time to call hospice, first of all, the doctor needs to give a diagnosis of an expectation of that somebody may only, they put it this way, would you be surprised if this person was alive in 6 months? If the doctor feels that way, then that's a time that they can refer somebody to hospice. But hospice isn't about giving up. It's about calling in a team of people that help you and support you. Not only the person who is dying, but the caregivers. They have bath aides, they have social workers, they have chaplains, they have nursing visits, they have CNAs who come in and help provide for some of the physical care. So it's a whole team of professional people who their total focus is on meeting the needs of their hospice patients. And I'll be honest, hospice nurses, the hospice team as a whole is absolutely amazing. Their goal is to bring comfort not only to that person who's passing, but also to the family members. So if you think it might be time for hospice and you're not sure, of course you can Google it, you can look up information, you can speak to the provider, the primary care provider, but you can also call a local hospice and just ask questions. You can have consultations, and they can have somebody come out and speak to you and do a consultation and a meeting to see if they feel like to help you know if it's time to sign up for hospice. And then they can make a recommendation about and help you to know how to bring that conversation up with with the provider as well. Not every provider believes in hospice, I'll be honest. And part of that, what I've heard from people over the years, is that doctors are trained to save lives. So it's really hard to have to tell somebody that there are no other choices. So if you are feeling like there's something that you're the person, if you're the person or that has a terminal diagnosis, or if you're feeling like the person that you're caring for that has a terminal diagnosis, if you feel like it might be time to get help, you can be proactive and you can bring that fact up to the doctor. And also, if you're feeling like maybe the person who's ill tells you they really don't want to continue treatment, those are options that you have. You don't have to continue to have treatment, or your loved one, the person you're caring for, doesn't have to continue to have ongoing treatment. And that's another reason that it's so wonderful to have the hospice team on board, because their focus is to keep that individual comfortable, and they'll educate that person and the caregivers involved and family members, and helping you understand that what's going on is very normal, and giving you some peace where maybe it's really hard and confusing. You're not certain of what's going on and what to expect next. So another thing that's really hard to deal with, and that I've had multiple conversations, is about the dynamics of the family. Not everybody had a great relationship with the person who's dying. And so maybe you're the person that's closest to them, you're the spouse, and you are beginning to feel burned out and you need some help, and it doesn't seem like anybody's available to you. So there are some ways you can be really proactive in asking for some help and actually accepting some help. You might have to be really specific. When somebody says to you, oh, is there anything you need? You might need to have, you should have something in mind that somebody can do for you or for that person. And know that it's not too much to ask for help. And it might be as simple as, yes, I need you to come over on Wednesday at 4 o'clock so that I can leave the house. Be very specific about what your needs are. And if they say, oh yeah, that won't work for me, then move on to the next thing. Say, so when can you come? I'm going to need a break. Going to need to get away from the house for a while. We can't leave mom or dad home alone. When can you come? I'm going to need that help. If they're living further away, you could ask them, can you DoorDash us some food? Maybe it would be really great to have a meal sent over and not have to cook for that night or for that day. Maybe they could come on the weekend and do some food prep and maybe help with some of the housekeeping responsibilities. Maybe they're in a position to hire a housekeeper who can come over once in a while and help get things in order and clean bathrooms and do the vacuuming, those kinds of things that are heavy work, that are detailed work, things that are detailed work that need to be done and are really hard to keep up with because you're providing the care for somebody who's ill. So it's important to remember, typically everybody's doing the best they can. And if you don't tell somebody what you need and aren't specific about it, it's really easy to just say, oh, I'm good, I'm fine. And really you won't be. You might be fine right now, but if you start thinking about what you can receive and how somebody meeting some of your needs will help you be a better caregiver to that person, it can really help to change the dynamics. Being honest, you don't have to rehash what you've gone through. You don't have to have conversations about when somebody did you wrong or if you're feeling anxiety and upset about what somebody is, how much they're participating, and you need more from them, a gentle text might be what you need to send. A conversation about, hey, I really could use your help. It'd be really meaningful to have you come and spend some time. When would be the best time for you? Be very direct in asking for what you need and when you need it. Next, I'd like to talk about grief. Grief can be really tricky, and it can start, and often does start, before the death of the person that you're caring for. And it can look, grief is different for everybody. And maybe one day you're tooling along and everything feels fine, and then all of a sudden you see that flower shop where you used to get flowers for your wife, or you smell an aroma, maybe something that you used to cook for your husband, and now he's gone, and the grief can come washing over you. It's perfectly normal to start to feel some improvement, to feel maybe some relief that they passed without guilt, because you can experience that relief that they are no longer suffering, that they are free from that physical body and the pain that they were in. And as I said, if you can do that without guilt, that's all the better for you. So you might have improvement and you're doing better and you're starting to feel happier and lighter, maybe the cloud. Like for myself, I think back to when my dad died. It was many years ago, but I remember very clearly the day the cloud lifted. There was an event for my son who was in kindergarten, and something happened at school, and I was there when it was happening, and I just was like, oh my, this has to change. And I went outside and I called my son's dad and I said, we need to change this school situation. This isn't the best thing for our son. And as I had this conversation, it was like the clouds were lifting off of me, because I had been in that classroom 3 times a week for months and didn't see the lack of control. The teacher, he was a new teacher, and the kids were misbehaving, and there were no boundaries. I'll be honest, my son did a leapfrog over a chair, and I told him he mustn't do that. And the teacher was like, "Oh no, it's fine in our classroom." And that's when I was like, "Oh my, we have to change that." So I felt that cloud lift. I didn't even know it was there, but I realized that I had been walking through life for about 6 months in kind of a haze, barely checking in with what was going on in the world around me. And that was my normal grieving. And from that point forward, I was more aware, and I would have moments of feeling sadness over having lost my dad, but also the appreciation of having him for all the years that we did. So it's going to look different for everybody. And I think the most important thing to remember where grief is involved is that, again, you can't do it wrong, but maybe you would benefit from support. And that's something this channel can be for you. I want to be that for you. When you need to have somebody to talk to, a friend to unload on, maybe there's nobody else that you feel like you can talk it over with and be honest with. That's one of the things that people have been saying to me, is that I can't tell anybody because I don't want them to feel the burden. It's bad enough. Or maybe there's this thing where so much care and concern goes to the person who's dying that the caregiver is overlooked, and it's a hard job. And part of, as you're grieving, acknowledging that you did everything that you could do, and that and commending yourself that you did a good job and that you were present, can help you to process the feelings of grief that you might be experiencing. So you might think about joining a grief group. You can use this channel, and you can use me as an opportunity to have conversations and feel safe. And knowing that your grief, as I started to say earlier, you might feel more joyful and things get better, and then you just might have a day where things plummet and you feel really lousy again. All of that is really normal. Nobody can tell us what our grief is going to look like. There's no real obvious path for grief. It's every individual is different, and what you experience is going to be different than your siblings or than your spouse or the gal at work who says, well, I got over it really quickly by just ignoring, or whatever her particular style for expressing her grief and living through her grief. Everybody's different, and that's okay. Something else that people have talked with me about recently is that seems to be, in this day and age, we call it ghosting, that people just kind of drop out of your lives when you're going through the process, as somebody is dying and you're the caregiver, or maybe after the death of somebody that you're close to, and suddenly your support system is gone. And oftentimes it's just because people don't know what to say. So you end up feeling abandoned and lonely and sad, and you have nobody to, have the people that used to be close to you there to support you. And I guess what I could say about this is, don't be that guy. Don't be that person. Understand that when somebody is going through something that's really emotional and hurtful, you can still reach out to them. Maybe you don't know what to say. None of us do, really. But you can just say you're thinking of them, and you can ask what you could do for them. And maybe, like before I was talking about, providing some food. And oftentimes just being present and knowing you don't have to say anything. And start with that. Say, I don't know what to say, but I just want to be here with you. Just that can be so healing to a person who's hurting. So if I got a little off track, I want to bring it in and focus on the caregiver. I want to encourage you and remind you you're not alone on the journey, that people have gone before you, that it's important to reach out. Meeting somebody's needs is a lot of work. It can be exhausting. Go ahead, be proactive and do things for yourself. Take care of yourself in small ways, whether it's an extra long shower, or like I said, maybe having somebody to come in and do a couple of hours of housekeeping to get you caught up or make you feel like change your bedding, listen to some music, watch a sunset, take some time to read a book. If the person you're caring for is resting, maybe instead of jumping up and doing the chores that need to be done, take some time and just get some tea and read a book and just relax, take a nap. It's really important for you to, as the caregiver, to take care of yourself, because even if nobody else shows up for you, giving yourself time, focusing on giving yourself some time and some things that will help to regenerate your energy can make a huge difference in how you feel physically, mentally, emotionally, and then the care that you're able to give to the person that you're caring for. Thank you. I would appreciate it if you'd leave a message down below, follow my channel, and reach out to me. There are ways for us to communicate that if it helps you and it helps to relieve some stress for you, I'm happy to be a part of that healing process for you, to be in support of you as you go through the process. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time.